There you go. Hi, everybody. We're live and welcome to the Weekend Habit hashtag Guru Chat. This is our last show for the year. And what a year. We can't wait for the year to end. So today is our last show and we've got some special guests. All right, we've got Rizza as well. We are just waiting for Liza, Requiso. So for today, let me just go ahead and introduce our guests for today's stream. So today we have Alfonso at Teacher Forest. We've got Mel at Fungoli and Riza at Rizza Piccio on Twitter. And we've also got Chris at Betcha on Twitter. And my name is Mary at underscore Mary Manzano on Twitter. So just in case you would like to follow any of us, you can see all of our Twitter handles right there. And every week we do this at 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning in Manila, and I think 9:30 p.m. Eastern on a Friday night. Okay, so how are you, everybody?
Good.
Yeah,
Great.
Very glad it's Friday.
I know. Thank God it's Friday for you. That was just finished for me last night. So, but in any case, I'd like to know though. Today we are going to not be doing the Twitter chat. We're just gonna be here live, and we're gonna be discussing something that I think everybody's been thinking of anyway for the whole year, and it's how did 2020 change the way that we teach? And I'm just not talking about COVID here because everybody just talks about how COVID changed the way we teach. For me, it's not just about COVID, it's all the other events as well. Like Black Lives Matter, how did that change how you treat your children in the classrooms, etc. So that's what we're going to be tackling. I did prepare a few questions, but I would like this to be more of a fluid discussion. So before anything else, do you already have plans for Christmas?
I have no idea what we're going to plan, right? No.
No, I'm not gonna announce it.
Rumor.
Yeah,
I think somebody here needs to say something in the future.
All right.
yeah, I really would like to
What?
go out and stay at the beach for Christmas, but Boracay, the one of the really great beaches here called Boracay with super white powdery sands. It's not open. So for people from Manila, we can actually fly to Boracay, just do the swab tests and all of that, and you can fly over there. The thing is, just very recently, six people were arrested because they falsified their swab tests. So now I'm not sure. I want to go, but now I'm not sure because there might be other people who may have falsified their tests, and so that doesn't make it very safe, does it? So yeah, that's one plan. The other plan is just to stay at home and to order in a lot of food. That's, which is what pretty much we've been doing for the entire quarantine.
Exactly.
Except for Riza who likes to cook. Riza,
Yes.
every
Every
weekend
day.
habit, every weekend habit, at the end of the weekend habit, she would go,
Mhm.
we will chat, and then okay, I have to go and cook. So do you have plans for your menu on Christmas?
Oh, for us, we usually do have paella and then
Mm.
with sangria on the side and
Oh, yummy.
what's the other one? That's our Christmas tradition. We eat paella at Christmas night. So, but we don't cook. We order.
Ah,
It's
it's the
too
Mm.
one
hard to
time you
cook
don't cook.
paella. Yes.
Mhm.
But every day I get to cook our own food. So that's the benefit of working from home. You get to cook your own food and prepare. But of course, sometimes it gets in the way. But you have to make a way or else you have nothing to eat.
That's
And
true.
just order grab or food panda. So it's going to be expensive since I'm outside of Manila. So I really do
Right.
have to cook.
Yeah, I think I'm fortunate where I live because I'm right in the middle of the city. So if I need to order anything, it's usually just across the road, so it's super fast and not terribly expensive. So yeah, I
I saw
do
a thing
love.
on
Yeah,
I
go
saw a
ahead.
thing on Twitter the other day when they were asking people to sum up 2020 in one word, and a whole bunch of people's word was Uber Eats, summing up the entire year. Although
In our
Well,
case,
it's
it's grab food.
my favourite response was from the Photoshop team, who their one word was masking, which worked on so many levels. If you know Photoshop.
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Is that like your Photoshop humor?
Yeah, exactly. Total nerd joke. Yeah.
Yeah, but it really is. Here in the Philippines, we are kind of strict. So with the whole masking bit, and like I said, it does change the way that you are and the way that you look at other people as well when you're outside of the house.
Hmm.
Whenever I go outside of the house and anybody doesn't wear a mask, I just go, "The hell are you doing?" So it's kind
Oh,
of I
yeah.
get really scandalized.
There was a
Unlike
news story
before.
the other day about some people from, because Melbourne's been in lockdown for, I don't know, it was like, I forget, it was a long time. It was one of the longest lockdowns in the world, apparently.
Yeah.
And when they finally lifted it, there was a story about some people from Melbourne visiting Sydney, and like that was, I can't believe there are people without masks on public transport. Like they couldn't get over the fact that these people weren't wearing masks.
That is true. Or even like
Really got to get
people
used
in the elevator. We used to have, you remember, Betcher, whenever we have our Innovator Academy or anything like that, and even Alfonso, you went to the Apple Distinguished Educator, and you can see when you're in the elevator, you're crammed in there with people you don't know and like virtual strangers to you. And you always do this elevator selfie with the elevator all crowded. That is not happening anymore because. Uh, just 2 days ago, there were four of us in the elevator, and somebody tried to get in, and we all stared at that person like, "You get out of our elevator." Four people is the maximum for uh, for places like that. It's really changed. What?
Huh?
Mhm.
I
What?
just thought of a story. When
Yes.
I was younger and much sillier, I used to belong to a four-wheel drive club for Suzuki four-wheel drives, and Suzuki's are little four-wheel drives, um,
Mhm.
and we used to run this inter
I should
team
actually.
competition called a Suzuki Cram, and it was to see how
Mhm.
many people you could squeeze inside a Suzuki. And we hold the world record for 17 people inside a Suzuki Sierra. But the
Wow.
weekend we set that record, I was coming down with chicken pox and I didn't know it. So I was crammed into a car with 17 people with early onset chicken pox, and a whole bunch of people got it. So yeah, cramming people into lifts and stuff, yeah, probably not a smart idea.
Yes.
Well, cramming
That's
people
true.
inside a Suzuki like that with 17 people, that's kind of not really a record breaking thing in the Philippines, considering that we,
That's just a
Yes.
we
normal
cram
ride
so
on a
many
jeep.
we cram so many people in our jeepneys, and when you look at India, you can
Yeah,
see like a lot of people carrying on like an entire family on tricycles, like five people in one motorcycle, right? So
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The train was really crowded this morning. It's like, but you were in the train, right? Not on the train.
that's actually quite true. Like whenever I look at the rush hour here, I live next to the highway in Manila. That means I can actually see the train that traverses Metro Manila from my balcony. And I look at it now and I can see there's so many spaces, and that's so not the usual thing. And it used to be that in rush hour, you've got so many people, their faces all plastered to the glass door of the
Yes.
of the metro rail. And one time I pointed it out to our Indian engineer and I said, "Look at that train. That's the reason why I don't ride the train on rush hour." And he said,
Yes.
"Well, at least they're inside. At least."
Not outside.
At least they're
Mm.
inside. They're not outside hanging by the billboards. I didn't know that it wasn't a joke. I just laughed, but I didn't know it wasn't a joke until India. So India was a surprise. Right. So I just
Um,
have this one question for all of you. How did your technology usage change this year? What changed for you?
hmm.
Hmm.
Did more video
Like
Everyone's
a
conferencing
deep,
than
speechless
ever.
big,
because a
deep,
lot.
deep sigh.
My eyesight is now terrible because of being on the screen all the time.
Yeah. So is it
That's
really
true.
just yeah, meeting fatigue for you?
Hmm.
It's really just meeting fatigue for
Uh,
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
For
What else?
technology usage.
Yeah, for you. Like
I
what
found
changed
this
for
year,
you?
over the last couple of years, I've been kind of content to rely on social media for news sources in the sense, and I don't mean I believe everything I read on social media. I certainly don't, but I was content to think that, like, if something really important happens in the world, like, I'm going to find out about it because social media is just going to amplify it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I think over certainly the last 6 months, especially with what's happening
Yeah.
with this, all the other stuff going on in the world,
Gonna find out about it because
I'm
social
much
media.
more aware now that
Yeah.
But
I
I
need to be
think
more
over the last
discriminatory about where I get my news
last six
sources
months,
from,
especially with what's happening
and
with this
understand the biases that are
going on
happening
in the
in
world, I'm
mainstream
gonna find
media.
out about it because I'm much more aware now that.
Where's that?
I need.
Sorry.
There's a
Go ahead.
feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some feedback. Can you just go ahead? Yeah.
So
I
I'm,
think
I'm
it's
trying to be more. I'm trying to be more aware now of where I get my news from and what the biases are, and going more to the source rather than simply relying. I'm reading less on social media now. I'm reading more in mainstream media, but I'm being more careful about where I get my news sources from because I'm
Mhm.
incredibly aware now of what the biases are that maybe I wasn't kind of thinking about nearly as much before. So I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's a different use of technology in the sense that it's pulling back on my reliance on social media as a news source.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
Wow. How?
I did notice that whenever I teach teachers, uh I like that a lot of people are a lot more open now. It's been a battle for me the last 10 years trying to get people on board the cloud. It's like from 2010 I've been trying to get people onto the cloud and people just don't listen. So it's
Mhm.
it's been a it's been an uphill climb. And sometimes you go to a school and they go, we don't need that yet. And it there's that theory of anti-selections. I see that all the time in insurance. You have that theory, and that's what it's called, anti-selection. It means that when you need it, you can't get it. That's what it means. So you have to get it when you don't need it, and that's kind of the thing with technology preparation for me is that when you look, you don't prepare and you don't get it for today. You get it for 3 years from now, 5 years from now. That's what you prepare for. And
Saying like I just crashed my motorbike, I should probably go and buy insurance. That kind of thing. Is that what you mean? Like
like you just crashed your drone in the river, and it
let us never speak of that again, Mary.
you crashed your drone in the river. I'm gonna say it again, and you couldn't find it. So how are you gonna claim insurance on it? So it's again, insurance is you get it when you don't need it. So similarly with technology, try to yeah, toys for the big boys. So yeah, so that's basically what it is for me. I'm happy to see some of the schools that were in on the technology really early in the last 10 years were the ones that were able to adjust. And I do know that the public school system here has a long way to go. And I don't know, Riza, are you aware that the Department of Education here has been asking private schools for surveys as well as proof that they can actually do online. And a lot of these schools, a lot of these private schools have already been doing online learning and blended learning even before COVID struck.
Yes.
So it's just now, though, that the Department of Education is asking for it. So that's kind of a weird thing for me. That's what I mean by catching up, right?
Okay. What I can say about it is that we have this Spark Ed. We started it sometime 2014,
Mm-hmm.
and other public school teachers who, you know, who do not follow Dep Ed regularly about, oh, this is the workshop that you have to attend to, who decides on their own. So they would attend these Spark Eds, and so somehow their schools
Mm-hmm.
were prepared because they get to, when we do Spark Ed, we have the workshops and we have classroom observations to observe how we apply and do and use, I mean, technology in the classroom, and how do we apply it when we do flipped classroom learning or blended learning or whatever they want to observe on. So I somehow think of that, these schools who attended, then they might have gotten something from that. While about the survey of the DepEd asking private schools, I think it's only course through the EdTech coordinator. So I think it's the EdTech coordinator who relays everything that's what we have been doing in school. So,
Yeah.
but there was no survey from us teachers,
Mm-mm.
but I think it's the EdTech. And then our school, we have this program that is set,
Mm-hmm.
training skills for teachers in public schools.
Yeah.
And so we conduct the SEP every summer. I think
Mm-hmm.
summer and term breaks. So I think those
Mm-hmm.
are the ways that these public schools were prepared for blended learning. But that's not enough. I mean, you only send a few teachers in this training, but when you train the whole school, that's the one that's really going to be really working more for your school rather than
Right.
training a few, and then
Mm-hmm.
when they go back to the school, you don't even know if all the teachers in that school were retrained from that training. So something like that.
I see. Yeah. I was just wondering though, because it used to be that a lot of the PD was centered during the summer vacation. So prior to start of the classes, you pool together all of your PD into a few months or
Yes,
maybe a few weeks of just
yes.
in service training for all of the teachers. How do you think that's going to change now that webinars are a lot more mainstream? Do you think
Flexible,
that,
yeah.
like, for Alfonso, for example, you have been conducting a lot of these PD sessions for your own school? um, is there going to be a change for next year, for example, like if you're planning your PD sessions for next year, how will you do it?
But definitely, it's the whole webinar style really democratized professional development, because in the past it PDs would be limited by geographical scope, but now that it's online, a lot of people can actually join in, and it wouldn't be so much of a problem anymore. But I
Mhm.
guess a challenge really is, how do you translate that experience which you've been doing in a face-to-face setting, and try and get it to other people so that they have that same experience, or they have a richer collaborative environment, as opposed to just being on screen. So I
Yeah.
think definitely I like that webinars are here to stay. And
Mhm.
the beauty about this is that everything is recorded, so
Mhm.
teachers can access it at any time,
Mhm.
and it's still learning for them in whatever form that may be. So that's
Right.
something I'm of course still I'm looking forward to, but definitely nothing beats meeting teachers, working the room, and really
Mhm.
interacting with them in a face-to-face manner.
Yeah.
What do you
Yes.
reckon the statistics are of the number of people who? I mean, we say that this session's going to be recorded for people who miss it and want to watch it later. I wonder what percentage of people actually do come back and watch it later.
I know.
I
Yeah, we
know.
I
did
I think
an
think
there's
so.
none.
yeah, we
Yeah, I
did
think
an
it's
But
like
that's
most
that's
of
a
the
very
unconference. Okay.
that's an interesting question
I
because
only watch if I need it. If I need the information, like I want to learn something from that particular webinar, then I watch. But if there are other sessions, like we have this in the summer when we prepared, so they called it the core team, and if you can't attend, then they will send you the recorded session. Then I would I would only choose the ones that I wanted to learn, but the others recorded sessions I did not view that. I did not
yeah.
view that at all because I think that for the reason that I might have known it already or I'm familiar with it, so I will not watch it. But the ones that I wanted to learn more, I did. But I'm not sure
Mhm.
with the other teachers
yeah.
Mhm.
who's part of the community if they really viewed or not.
Yeah. We
Right.
And
had an
there's no
unconference.
survey, and that's a good point. That's a good
Mhm.
point.
A lot of people say, "Oh, there's no recording feature on this video conferencing tool, so I don't
Mhm.
like it."
Yeah.
And I wonder that when you ask that question, Chris, if that's gonna actually make an impact on whether or not do you really need a
Yeah, and
record
that's what I
button.
mean. Like you hear people talk about the recording ability like it's a make or break thing, and then I wonder how many people
Mm.
really watch the recordings anyway. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
definitely good to be able to record. I did a early in the pandemic. I did a series of videos with the New South Wales Department of Education, and then later on in the year when they had a teacher professional learning day, and we were still, um, staying isolated. They just mandated that every teacher had to spend that professional learning day watching some of that collection of videos that were made. And
Mhm.
the numbers were through the roof. There was like tens of thousands of views of those videos, like in one day. So,
Right.
I mean, if you can get the right audience for it and make it work and make it maybe a requirement, it can work.
Yeah. Well, with government, you just have to get them to comply. But if it's private, it's not
Oh,
as
you're such
easy.
an optimist.
I know. Well, that's how it works.
Getting people to
That's how it
comply.
works. Get them to comply. I mean, I came from compliance, so I know.
I'm
So
just going to
basically,
tell people to do something and they're all going to do it. Oh, aren't you adorable?
no, when it's not required, sometimes people are just not willing to do it. That's the long and short of that. I just would like to highlight something that Pilar said here. She said that some distances have shortened, but inequity has never been so visible. I'd
Yes.
like to get Mel's take on that because
Yes.
uh, I'm not sure about the economy in Colombia, and I'm also not sure about how it looks like there. But do you see the inequity, for example? How um, what do you see right now that makes it really stand out? That some students are left behind, and stuff like that.
Well, I'm probably not the best person to
Oh,
ask because
because you're
I
in
went to an
international school.
international school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like most of those kids, they have basically everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, like right now when they're doing like virtual, like when, like we are hybrid, but some kids, they're out in their fincas, which is like
Mhm.
a farm basically out in the middle of nowhere, maybe. So they might have like almost no internet. So literally, like these
Mhm.
kids, they have basically everything, but then they might have no internet.
Mhm. Yeah, internet.
Because of where they are, or like they've got a really bad connection, and they really want to participate. And like some of them, they really want to come to school, but maybe they broke their leg or something like that. So one of my kids actually, she just because she's like, I really want to be at school because my internet is so bad at home, but I can't go there because I like broke my ankle. She fell down the stairs or something, and she did something like that. So that was quite
Yeah.
interesting. But I mean, yeah, basically like here, like where I am, I mean, and the kids there, most of them are sort of like in a bubble. Like they they're in their own thing, and of course, it's like even though Colombia is not first world really, but they're like first world problems. Their own thing. It's not really. It's not like obviously if I walk in the street or if I take a bus somewhere, I will see that. I will see what it's like. But the kids, a lot of them, they just stay in their bubble, especially right now with the COVID stuff. I mean, They stay in their bubble of friends. They're sort of like unaware of like how serious the issue is. For some of them, obviously they're aware, but some of them just they don't even think it's actually that serious. So I
Right.
mean, it's really interesting the perspectives you get
Yeah.
because some kids are really like real world. They do there was their parents and their family and how their perspectives, but some of them they're really they're in their
Unaware.
own world and they do not realize. But yes, so
Right.
maybe I'm not the best person to ask about that. But
Yeah,
yes.
but it's really nice though to see, because I can see here that a lot of the teachers that we have here on the Weekend Habit, we basically are teaching in schools that have more affluent children. We don't have representation from the public school system, where technology is not used that much, and they have to deliver paper modules. By the way, I've got Liza on the backstage, and I've got Rizza also back. So let me get Rizza back and Liza as well. Hey, hey. Let me just change these banners so that we don't have a lot of orange. There you go. It's really bothering me. Okay.
Banner
There you go,
matches my
hi
t-shirt.
Lisa. Yeah, I know. No, thank you.
Adobe Live.
I like
Um,
that shirt, Chris.
so that's, you know what that means, right, Chris? That's like Chris sent me a shirt like that.
No, not really. But if you want
If I had the
to.
If
power
you
to, I
want
would.
to. Yeah, hi Lisa, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good. It's quite early here and it's colder now because it's winter time. So,
Oh my gosh. I wish I was in winter.
well, I mean, the winter here it's not like when I was in Tbilisi, but it still gets cold. So, cold
Yeah.
in a sense, colder than the Philippines is what I'm
Chilly.
gonna say.
Yeah. Chilly.
Yeah.
Mary said
Chilly
she'd like to be in
morning.
a cold place, but I was in Dunedin with her one time for a Google event, and
Stop
she
it.
did all she did was complain about the cold the whole time.
Dunedin cold is different. It's so near Antarctica. There are penguins. So no, don't compare that. I
Right.
Everybody was, some of the teachers were going, it's so balmy, and I can't even feel my face. I, I can't feel my face anymore.
I know
And
we were chilled to the bone, like freezing cold, and there was like local New Zealanders walking around in shorts and thongs. It's like,
jandals.
Wow.
They were walking
oh,
around in jandals.
flip flops. Let's.
Yeah.
Right. So it was so funny because some of them are even wearing shorts, and I don't know how they can stand the cold. But I guess if you live there all your life, right? I can see
Yes.
Billy was saying that same in the school I work. The kids have all the possibilities and more, but I've just recently met a person in my GEG that told me the difficulties the public schools are dealing with. There's definitely a lot of
Yes.
inequity there, and here in the Philippines, there's even been a clamor for an academic freeze, primarily because of two things. One is not having
Accessibility.
the access, not having access, devices, internet, not being able to cope, and the other one is mental health. So the other big issue this year that everybody's been facing is teacher mental health and student mental health. So everybody's mental health has been affected. So there's been kind of a large clamor for that, but of course the government has already announced we are not doing an academic freeze because it's just going to affect things a lot more in the future if we stop things now. So yeah, how's your mental health been? I think that's the really important question this year. How did you cope with
Yes.
isolation? Alfonso was like doing this. How did you cope?
Spiky.
Yeah, peaks and valleys.
Spiky.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right.
there are the
There are
good
days that
days.
it's too high.
Hmm.
How did
Yeah.
you cope? Like, I know that as a teacher, you have to always put on a brave front, in front of your
Yes.
students, regardless of what the students
Students.
are feeling, right? Regardless of how you're feeling. How were you able to actually cope and adjust to that? So
Look for
anybody can
new
answer.
hobbies. Look for
Look
new
for new home.
hobbies. So remember at the start of the Weekend Habit, like after every chat, I'd say, "Oh, I gotta run. I'm going to start cooking something new, which I saw on YouTube, and I want to try it out." And then when that sort of went away and the recipes got a little tougher, said, "Okay, I think it's time to start biking also." So started biking. That's why I've been absent for quite some time, just to get all that stress out.
Mm.
Mhm.
How about you, Chris? Have you like formed any new hobbies this year?
Yeah, I got a drone.
The drone.
After I crashed it in the river, I got another drone. um, so yeah, and then I was actually, I thought if you're going to do something right, do it right. So I've actually sort of started learning to get a remote pilot license exam. So I thought if I'm going to do it, do it right. I've been learning another language. I've been learning
Right.
Esperanto. That was kind of pre-COVID, but like it's been one of the things that's been good to continue on. I bought a motorbike and sort of thought that's a good thing to do, get me out of the house. Started cycling again, started rock climbing again. So yeah, just trying to diversify out and do a whole bunch of different things just to try and stay physically and mentally acute.
Yes.
Look at everybody's faces going all, what in the world? See? I told you
It's
exercise too
freezing.
much.
But you know what I'm doing a lot less of? I'm doing a lot less of sitting on the computer. Like I remember thinking for a long time, like probably since the 80s, there's been barely a day goes by where I have not been on the computer or been on the computer at night just doing something because I wanted to, like messing around in Photoshop or building a website or just doing something because I like computers, always have. But honestly, the last 12 months, when work's done, I shut that lid and I walk away and I don't want to come back to it till the morning because I'm just
I
over
envy
it.
you, Chris.
I
This is
know
the
agree.
first time that the computer has been on for 24/7.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then
I
again,
make
nothing beats your 1980s reach.
I just finally just need to walk away from it because it's enough, like there's other
Yeah,
things in life besides sitting in a computer screen.
I agree. I've run webinars before, pre 2020, and it's like our lives are now either pre or post 2020. Anyway, so like before this year, I was running webinars before, and usually during the break, you have that 1 hour break, and during that break, I would still be working. I'd be preparing for what's going to happen in the afternoon. I'd be preparing for what's going to happen after the break. But I find now that every single webinar or training that I have to run, in every break, even if it's just a 15-minute break, I actually really step out
Mm.
of where my screen is. I have to just go out the
Yes.
balcony and stare outside, because I also can't go outside whenever I want to. You're actually quite lucky, Chris, because at least you don't have that many, restrictions there as we have
Yeah,
here.
I have been lucky. Well, I try to
Yeah.
make a point now, like every lunchtime, like go out and do a walk, like go to the shop, get lunch, do something, like go for a walk every
Mhm.
day.
Yeah, I do like one of the things that you said before, where you were doing a walking meeting with Swan,
Mhm.
and I started putting that in my calendar. That there is a spot in my calendar now in the afternoon where if anybody tries to book a meeting with me around that period, it will be a walking meeting.
Mm.
So I like that. I like that idea that anybody who tries to book a meeting with me, I just tell them, oh, that's the time for my afternoon walk. And if you're okay with it, I'm gonna go and have a walk with you, and we can have a call if you don't need to see me. So
Mm.
it's and it's kind of a great idea, I think, that people should do more often. I don't
Yeah.
walk much, but yeah, I find that I'm walking a lot this year. Yeah.
The other thing I just thought of too is that, like, I think because we're going out and doing less, I'm certainly drinking less than I ever have because I'm not going out of an evening to like Friday
That's
nights and
true.
stuff like that. So I'm spending less money on some of the things I used to spend. So I'm now looking at things like
Yes.
like I wanted to take up yoga. I found a really great app for yoga, but it was like had a monthly cost. And you ever get to that point where it's kind of like, I'm not going to pay for yet another monthly subscription to something? But then I kind of thought, well, like I'm not spending money on other things. Why not spend a little bit of money on things that might be good for my mental health or good for my physical health or whatever? If it costs a few bucks,
that's true.
I'm not spending on something else. So I'll probably subscribe to like guitar lessons and yoga things, and like I've subscribed to a whole bunch of things that I wouldn't have otherwise, because I can justify why it's a good idea now and why I can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
All that beer money for a monthly subscription, yeah?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I mean, like, because we're able to as well, it's the same. Like, I'm not able to buy, I mean, I'm not, when we don't spend as much. We still spend, but it's not as much as we used to. So now my money goes into groceries. But
Yep.
then it's because we're not spending as much. We are now able to afford this quite quick getaway into, I think it's like a river forest here in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So I think after like during this winter break, we're going south, and then with the kids, we're going to ride a boat. So there's a group of us who rented the boat, and then we're just gonna go sail through the river, get into the forest, and so it's like our very first time. So it's called the Shundarbans. It's our very first time. But I mean, if it was not if it was pre-COVID, we couldn't have been able to afford it. But because we are able to save some money, like might as well go. And so so
I'm
there
sure the
are
global
there
shoe industry is wondering what happened because of like Mary's not buying shoes anymore.
yeah.
I didn't buy shoes at all for the entire year. It's I only bought shoes I think 2 weeks ago, and those were my Christmas shoes because they were really shiny. They were very sparkly. They were very sparkly. I love them. They're sparkly loafers too. They're loafers, but they're sparkling. So it allows me to walk and still look amazing.
Mel,
It's the cross between. But I still wear my shoes almost every day. I still wear my heels because, like I told everybody, they might think I died. And I don't want my shoes to think that I died. So I have a lot of my best friend shoes right here, my florals and my stilettos and stuff like that. I wear high heels almost every
yes.
day. And then, but yeah, I didn't buy shoes for the entire year. And the reason for that, Chris, is not because of COVID. It was not because of that. It was because I moved here in this house last year. And when I moved here, I found out I had 75 pairs of shoes. And it was a little too much. So, no, it was just a little too
Hello,
much.
Marcos, in the making.
I know. It's, and I
Is
had,
that like a Filipina thing?
I guess so. And
I don't have
I had
75
around
pairs of shoes.
Yeah, 15. I had 15 pieces of this one brand. Apparently, I started collecting the brand and I didn't even notice. But
Oh
when
my
I told
god.
my sisters and my friends to just come over the house last year, and I got them to just look at my shoes and then tell them to just get what you want if it fits, and then also clothes because there are just way too many clothes. So I told them just get your pick if you want. Um, I just realized I hoarded too many. The other thing that I noticed that I hoarded is that here in the Philippines there are a lot of Korean stores because
Yeah.
white is beautiful in the Philippines for some reason. I know we're not white. Riza, I love your color as well. We were beautifully brown, but for some reason, white is
I'm
considered to
proud of my
be
skin.
yeah, but white is considered beautiful here. So when you go to the regular supermarkets, you will find that you will not be able to get non-whitening lotion or non-whitening. It's so
Yes.
difficult to get non-whitening soap. So I sometimes go to these
Really?
Korean stores. Yes, the Korean stores
Yes.
have them. The Korean stores have just essential oil type things. They're non-whitening. I love them. So every time I pass by one, I try to grab whatever scent I want. Like, oh, this is great shampoo. Oh, this is great soap, and I just like get one because it's cheap. So it's like $2.50 or something. So I just get one, and then I put it in the pantry. During COVID, the entire year, I didn't buy a single shampoo or conditioner
So, yep.
or body wash because I realized I hoarded it. I hoarded I hoarded it. I've got a lot of them. Like it's it's a I have a problem. So I stopped
Because
myself
it's
from buying stuff.
frustrating. It's
It
frustrating if
is.
you go to the regular grocery and then you would go to the soap special station, and then you'll see all of those whitening. So you just go back to your old Dove, or just the most basic soap that doesn't change
We've
your color.
Mel was
Yeah,
saying like I totally forgot the question. We've already like completely digressed because we were talking about mental health and we were trying to see like what are the things that were actually alleviating this. But let me pull back, and that was a good pullback question there, Mel, in the chat. And let me pull back and say, no, it's good. It's good that I'd like to know what your tolerance level is for the children now, because I feel like a lot more teachers are more tolerant of mistakes and tolerant. I don't know how tolerant you are now of unsubmitted homework or stuff like that. What is your tolerance level this year, and how will that change for next year for you? Once you go back to face, I'm pretty sure we will go back to face classrooms by the end of next year, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
But when you go back to your classrooms, um, has anything changed as far as expectations for your students?
That's my most
Same.
that's the most problematic part. You just have to accommodate. I mean, we just had a meeting yesterday about this two new students that transferred in our school and did not do all the tasks since term two started, and we have to accommodate. Even if we have a policy that says we will give zero after the second reminder, but still you cannot afford to give zero because the parent would always appeal, and we have to understand the situation at home, things like that. So patience level maybe more than 100%.
From last year.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, definitely. Because face to face, you can remind them, you can pull them out of the classroom, or after
Yes.
class and say, "Could you spend 10 minutes with me to complete this
Right.
part before you go home?" Or you could
Right.
always send a note to the parent, and then the parent would always read that note because it's written there. But right now it's email, and some of them are not checking their emails, even though it's written in the policy that we will communicate with you through email. Still, the email would still be 3 days, 5 days late of being read
Yeah.
from the. I mean, you sent the email today, and then you set the deadline of the assignment or submission until maybe Friday, and then they read the email over the weekend. So it goes back to you accommodating it. So rather than explaining, but you did not read or what, you just have to accommodate and say, okay, could they meet me at this time, and then that's it. So in short, so you don't have you will not cause any more problems or issues or concerns that would lead to the parent asking your coordinator or your principal, why is she doing this, why is she doing that. So better accommodate and extend help rather than create another issue.
Right. Are you still I was looking at Lisa uh shaking her head a while ago, and I'm thinking Lisa looks like, the teacher that has the mommy voice that you have to
Yes, I
listen
do. I
to.
do have my teacher voice. Yes. I use it with my own children. I use my teacher voice with my own children. And for me, It's a lot. It's exactly like what Riza said. Like this year has been quite challenging, and of course, we're sure, absolutely sure that it's a lot more challenging for parents and students. So all the
Yes.
accommodation that you can give, you can possibly give, you give. And so since we are an IB PYP school, for us it's educating the whole child. So if a child, let's say, misses a deadline or did not work on an activity, then all the possible accommodations that you can give, you provide. But again, like what Risa said, it's a lot easier when it's in the classroom because then it's easier to just set them aside and hey, let's work on this because you did not finish it. And I think my other dilemma, because we're doing it at home, is that I'm not sure if they get a lot of help or no help at all.
Yeah.
So so there are some things where I ask them to do something, and you know that they did not write that piece of writing. And yeah,
Mm.
so there are some things that you just have to let go, and it's hard. It's hard for you as a teacher, but it's pick your battles, choose your battles,
Right.
because it's not, the stress is not worth it, really. So yeah, like I've realized that we've been doing 13 weeks of online learning, and I've realized, yep, not worth it, not worth me. I'm stressing over it because I know that the other person or the other party is not stressing or not having any anxieties about it. So yeah,
Why would you? Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Why would you stress over it? Uh, any other, like, for example, for next year, what is there anything that you're gonna be very intolerant about when you go back? Mel, by the way, are you completely on online learning or are you blended right now? I forgot. Do you actually do face to face
Uh,
I'm
classes?
hybrid.
I'm
You're hybrid right
hybrid.
now. Okay.
So yeah, because like before June, I mean like March, April, June
Mm.
we were all online, and then when we came back this year in August, we were online for August, September. Then I think the start of October we started
Mm.
doing a hybrid sort of thing. The kids were going like each grade was going in once like a week sort of thing. And then right now grades go in twice a week. So like and there's like maybe 3 or 4 grades in at on one day. So for example, like we have like today there was like grade 8, 9, and 10. They were all here today. They come in like twice a week. Like for example,
Mm.
this week they were here Monday, Friday. Next week they'll be here like Tuesday, Thursday, that sort of thing. But
Mm.
it's not like everyone is here, you know. So like I have, let's just say I've got like 25 kids in a class or something. I mean, I could have like 15 kids in with me and then 10 in the Zoom, or I could have 5 kids with me and 20 on the Zoom, or I could who knows what. I mean, like it's a bit of like a interesting situation. We don't have asynchronous classes either, so I mean like when we have our class like from 7:30 till 8:50 or whatever it is, like that they have the class, like the
Yeah.
Zoom people also have the class. And it's sort of like at the start, it was sort of flexible. Like they said that, okay, we can just stay connected maybe for the first 5 minutes with them and just assign other work
Yeah.
so they don't have to stay connected so much. But since they came back to this, like more, like the schedule is
Mhm.
actually 75-minute classes still that before they were doing like 50-minute, they
Yeah.
changed back to 50-minute when they came back just for like the first month or so.
Mhm.
But now we're back to 75. And so those kids, that's yeah. So we are doing like it's like a hybrid but like
All right.
concurrent sort of
Sounds
thing.
difficult.
So
Sounds like a challenge. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is my interesting times
Right.
here. Yes, that is. It is what it is. So it's interesting to see like what Liza was saying that she has like different accommodations and stuff that she has for her kids right now because it's like online learning. So you have to be more flexible. You're talking about like deadlines, or you're talking about like following up like communication and that sort of thing, and like waiting for responses, like that sort of thing. Is that what you were talking about?
I teach first grade. So
Yeah, well, okay. Nah.
that's all
I
I'm
teach
gonna say.
so it's a totally different
Yeah. So
ball.
like it's a whole other ball game with the chasing and the, you know. So I would prefer not to speak to the parents as much as possible if I can do it in school. So that is the thing for me. Like if we are back in school, if we can do it all in school, I will do it all in school and then not assign homework, because for me homework is
Yes.
just reading at home. That is it.
Yeah.
But other than that, if I can finish it at home, then definitely I will work on it at home and will only contact the parent only when I absolutely need to. But now it's not. That's not the case. You are always in
Yes.
communication with the parents, and
Mhm.
as much as you can ask for their help or their support, especially
Mhm.
when I need, if it's possible for you to provide this material for,
Mhm.
for the
Mm.
student.
Do you
So
find
yeah,
that it's a two-edged sword though? Parent involvement.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because
Mhm.
now it's like because in CISO, we are enabled to do a one-on-one chat with the parent. Once a teacher
Yes.
opens up that communication with
Mhm.
the parent, then it becomes a one-on-one chat and it's private. So
Okay. It's
many of the
interesting.
parents just chat, like just quickly
Yeah.
chat and send you messages. And sometimes they send you messages while you're in class. And then you're
Okay.
not able to see,
And then they get
and you're not
upset.
able to help. So, like,
Yeah.
you want to help, but you can't because you are
Yeah.
in
Right.
class. Yeah.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah, I was
So, how did
curious.
your? Oh, go
I
ahead.
was curious about like Chris because I know that you're in Australia. I don't know if it was like interesting going from like the online, like from online, because I'm guessing at some point you were online and then you went back face to face, or what do you
Yeah, it's
what is
been
happening?
pretty much on a state by state basis. So New South Wales schools went off like online for a while back in term two, I think it was, might have been term three, but it was only for a period of time, and then they opened schools back up again. Victoria was out for a much longer period of time because everything was in lockdown. They've only just gone back recently to school. They were off for a long time, like months. Um, the rest of the country, I think Queensland was only out for maybe a few weeks before they went back. So it's been on a case by case basis. I think Tasmania's handled it pretty well. So they were, I don't know if they went out at all. I'm starting to lose track of who did what, but like it's been varied. Different people have gone out, then come
Mhm.
back when they feel it's safe. And for the
Yeah.
most part, it's safe. I think we've done a pretty good job in Australia of managing that aspect of things.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
border closures and the internal border closures and lots of testing. It's, to be honest, it's all but eradicated here now. We have basically zero cases except for people in quarantine coming in from international.
Yeah, because I was curious to see like if those kids, for example, that have been that online for I don't know a few weeks or whatever, then they came back to face, whether there was stuff like from the online that they had missed, or like they were like, oh, we really like that stuff that we were doing actually when we were virtual, or if everyone was just like, nah, we love being face to face.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of all of those things. I think I've heard stories about people saying, there are things from going online that we loved and we want to keep. The use of video conferencing for certain things, parent conferences, for example. I think there's a lot of schools that said that worked better than ever.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be
Mm.
surprised if some schools decide to keep that. But I've heard stories from teachers saying like it was great. It brought out the quiet kids who didn't contribute face to face, suddenly felt they had a voice. And then I've heard other stories about people saying, kids slipped through the system and managed to go for like weeks on end with basically doing nothing and were never really sort of identified. So I think
Mhm.
it's a real mixed bag, and it depends on which school you're in, which teacher you are, how you handled your kids, type of student population you've got. There's so many variables.
How do you
Like all
handle how do you handle exceptions now? Like, you were telling me a while ago that okay, in class, if there is one student that's not doing their work, you just pull them out and then you just talk to them. How are you handling your coaching now and your one is to ones and your, how are you giving that feedback now that they should not Do you actually do one-on-one calls with the children, or just do one-on-one with the parent? How do you do it now?
Can I just preface that with something? I think one of the, like, as you guys know, I work for Google, but one of the number one requests that we've been getting over this whole time when kids are working remotely is, how do you measure engagement? Like, how do you actually keep track of who's doing what? And so I think there's been a huge push internally, obviously things I can't talk all that freely about, but there's been a huge push into saying how do all tools, not just ours but everybody's. I see Microsoft the other day just released an update saying that Teams now is going to come with some measurements for keeping track of engagement, and you can bet that Google's working on something similar. Of, you know, if you're going to work in an online environment, how do you know who's doing what, and how do you keep track of it? And surely, if you're in like Google Classroom or, you know, some other environment, there's obviously a lot of data that's being sort of amassed in terms of you know, anonymized data in terms of who's doing what and which tasks got engagement, which ones didn't, and which students are consistently engaged and which ones aren't. And I think there's huge scope from a technical perspective to start building ways for teachers to see that engagement, to measure that engagement, and then if we're smart about it in the future, using things like AI to actually give insights about that engagement as well. So, you know, I'm not telling anything this is no secret stuff. This is simply me thinking about it. Like, I would love to see a future where AI, not this AI, but artificial intelligence AI, actually can do things like provide insights to teachers that they might not see, that the AI can spot patterns about a particular student's behavior or a particular type of task, and then offer insights to a teacher and say, hey, you know, this kid's slipping through the cracks and you're not noticing, you know, go and tend to that kid, or this task that you did, that was way too hard, or that was way too easy. Or I think there's huge scope for our technology to start informing our decisions better than it does now.
I remember a few years ago there was an assessment application in Singapore that was created that had a lot of machine learning stuff in, and it actually does design different exams for different students.
Right.
It learns from what the student answers and how the student is actually responding and what sort of answers they're getting wrong. So if they're getting things right all the time, the tests become increasingly difficult for the child, and that was not designed by the teacher. It's already designed by the system itself.
Yeah.
Because of machine learning.
Like, right. And people should do what people are good at, and machines should do what machines are good at. Machines are good at spotting patterns, and often better than people can do it. But then once those patterns are spotted, how to remediate on those patterns is obviously a job for people.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have an offline conversation with you about that, and what sort of things you would like to measure as far as engagement is concerned, because engagement is such a broad term that when you want to try and measure it, what sort of things do you really want to measure? And currently, for those schools that are already on Google, there are many things that you can already measure, like number of documents that a child creates, number of posts that they create. Those are already available in the report section in the admin console, but not available to the teacher. But those are reports that can be run.
I think in the same sense that, you know, like if you go to Google Maps and you get traffic reports, and it'll actually route you when you're navigating it a certain way because it knows about traffic patterns. And the only way it knows about traffic patterns is because there are thousands of people sitting in traffic jams with mobile phones in their cars that are registering no movement. And so as a whole, the system's able to see these broad patterns and then make advice decisions to you, like, oh, don't go down this street, go down that street because traffic's bad there. And that's not exposing anyone's personal information or anything. It's simply just using aggregated data to inform an insight to do something different. And that's how I see it playing out. If we're smart about it, that's what we can do in education as well. We can start to use that aggregated patterns over large data sets to sort of say, you know, like, we've noticed something's going on here. Perhaps you should try it differently, in the same way that you get navigated around a traffic jam.
I do like the idea that there's so much data that can be collected from the experience that we had this year. A lot of data. It's just that a lot of people are also unwilling to to talk through their experience as well. I find that a lot of teachers are a lot more reluctant to speak about the experience than before. It's because people are just having challenges, like everybody's experiencing it, and so most teachers are really unwilling to divulge whatever challenges they've experienced, primarily because it can be construed as either a weakness
Yeah.
or something else. So
I
that's
think there's a lot of not mystique. There's a lot of sometimes fear about that term data collection that you just
yeah,
used, and people see data collection as being somehow like a personal. Oh, someone's tracking me, like someone's watching
or
everything I
privacy
do. And
as a
not
privacy
that at
breach.
all.
Yeah,
It's about using that sort of aggregated data to
make improvements.
decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so that's really the point of this. Whatever we learned this year, we are just gonna have to take that and make improvements for next year. The year is ending, and I'm everybody's glad, and I just hope that COVID is also going to be ending soon with all the vaccine news happening. So, guys, I just want to wish you happy holidays and whatever holiday you're celebrating, and have a great end of the year party, however you want to celebrate it, and hope you get the gifts you want. I've been getting gifts steadily the last week or so. I've got a secret sister thing happening. So I don't know if you know it, but if you're interested, you let me know. I'll give you the mechanics. It's pretty great. So I've been getting anonymous gifts. Like I've just been getting gifts from women. So a lot of the gifts I'm getting are things that I really want to get. So it's been amazing. So guys, I just want to thank you for joining me this week. This is our last week, our last show for the year. And for next year, we'll see what we're gonna do and how busy we're gonna be. I don't know when we're gonna be coming on. Depends on the schedule, but we'll just announce it when we do on Twitter. Okay. So thank you again for joining me this year. This show
Thank
and this
you.
weekend. Have a great weekend and a
Thank
great end of the year,
you.
everybody. Bye bye.
I'm off to put
Bye,
up the
everybody.
Festivus pole.
Bye. Happy
Yes.
holidays.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.